some motherfuckers this week. The top three players rated in the world and the world champion have played a tournament in United States, a rapid tournament in San Luis, and with the format is 18 rounds, and each player play against the others six times. So Carlsen and Fabiano are they play 6 times, and the rest the same 6 times. And Magnus Carlsen was the winner of this tournament, and I'm going to analyze some of the my favorite games of the tournament. I'm going to start with a game between Caruana and Nakamura in the first round of the tournament. So, and I really like this game to start this series. Okay, Caruana opened with e4, and Nakamura he played during all the tournament the hyper-accelerated dragon. During all the tournament, he was playing with c5 and with g6. And Caruana, against the Sicilian, he came to this tournament with the idea of playing with bishop c4. He employed that move in more than one game, bishop c4. And okay, bishop d7. Here, uh, okay, the Caruana ideas was goes with short castle and play like this. But I'm analyzing c3 a little bit, which is interesting. And after e6, d4. That's a good way to play. And after c takes d4, just sacrifice the pawn with bishop b3. Was interesting to play like this. D5, for example, you can take with the knight, and the d5 isolated pawn is not so good. And if knight c6, you can still with the development. Finally, okay, one day you should take on d4 to develop your pieces, and after d5, c5. Was interesting. It's like in the Morra. But okay, Fabiano idea was just short castle. Here, Nakamura plays e6, who is not the best development. Here, d6 or knight c6 are more normal, but against both, the machine really like the pawn sacrifice. With c with knight c6, he plays just c3 followed by d4. And here he recaptured with the knight. And okay, white is slightly better here. And against d6, with the move of the machine, the machine sacrifices the pawn with d4, c takes, and c3. That's the idea. And after d takes, queen b3. And the game, the line is not easy to play with blacks. CB, bishop b2, king f8, not easy move, bishop f7, queen b6, queen e7, takes, queen c3, and knight a3. And I think that this was also interesting with white because with white you have black have an extra pawn, and black have six pawns, and white only have only five. Sorry, but white have more development. The white king is safer. Now white have more development. Yes, I told that before. The rooks are coming. These pawns are weak. The d6 pawn are weak specifically. These squares. I really think that white have a huge counterplay here for the pawn. So the Caruana line with bishop c4 and sword castle was so interesting if later you made this pawn sacrifice. Okay, Nakamura goes with e6 and Fabiano breaks d4, fine. C takes knight d4, e6. Okay, bishop b3 was a possibility, but okay, c3 was fine. Knight d7, and now Fabiano plays bishop d5. And okay, for example, if a6, you can just go back and knight c6, bishop b3. But this is better for black that what Nakamura do. H6 here and knight c6 was the best for black. The problem of b3 of b5 sorry is that now Fabi places so well the bishop on d3 because when you place the bishop in the Sicilian in c4 and your opponent plays a pawn on e6, the bishop used to be a little bit bad on c4. Okay, because the e6 pawn completely blocked the bishop. So here b5 has no so much sense because the bishop is going to be better placed on d3. So you are obligating to your opponent to play well the bishop. So castle, knight d2, f6, bishop e3, f6. Okay, it's a can look like a strange move because it's weak in the yes. Now the black king is weaker, but the idea of Nakamura is just play d5, just block the bishop and play d5 later. And now very good move of Fabiano f4. I really like this move, taking just protecting e5 because if not, black can come with e5 followed by d4 or something. So just f4 blocking e5. I really like this move. A4 was the other option. If d takes, just take here, and if b4, just or a5 or rook e1. But f4 was fine. And now we're going to see what technique employs Caruana to win this game, because mm, Let's see the game. F4, knight c6, knight takes, and now he take on d5. Uh, okay, giving black more space in the center with the central pawn. But okay, can look that like this pawn is a little bit weak, but white have no easy ways to attack. So for that reason, white decides to just block it, the pawn. The pass pawns, sorry, the isolate pawn you should or attack it or block it. But it's better if you can attack the pawn. But okay, if you cannot attack the pawn, you can block it. So knight b3, rook e8, and here bishop f2 was better. And now or knight c5 or rook e1 here. By the way, Caruana plays queen d2, still, he is still having the advantage. F5 and now knight d4, blocking the pawn. I told that. Okay, of course, it was better just attack the isolated pawns of your opponent. But if you cannot attack the isolated pawns, you can just block it and not allow that this pawn advance. Here, knight a5 was better. b3 and knight b7, trying to go to c5 and later to this square, of course, or to e6. That's the square that the knight want to reach. e4, of course. Knight c6, queen c7, knight d5, and of course white wants to reach c5, knight d6 and bishop d4. That was the best for black. Instead of that, he played queen d6, and now Fabiano just make a very good, yes, a very good idea, who is play a position with this bishop against this bishop. Because, okay, black have all his pawns in the same color of his bishop. So what Caruana do? Trade the rest of the small pieces to just keep his opponent with the worst piece, which is a master technique, of course. And just trade if you saw that your opponent have a bad piece, especially a bad bishop, because the knight, okay, sometimes the knight can be bad, but you can use to improve your knight in 2 or 3 moves. But if a bishop is bad, sometimes can never be good this bishop. The knight, okay, you can always improve your knight, but the bishop only can be in only one color. So if you have all your pawns in this color or something like this, the bishop is going to be bad always. So very good technique of just trade the rest of the small pieces, knight c6, and bishop d4, very good move. Um, and now Nakamura should take on d4 because if not, this pawn now is going to be so weak after white double pieces on the d-file. So he should take here to block the d-file and not allow white to place pieces in the d-file and attack the pawn. But now Caruana have these two open files to enter with the rooks, these two interesting squares to place their rook. And apart, the huge problem of the black position is that he have all his pawns in the same color that the bishop, and white the completely opposite. Especially the central pawns, who are the most important. The h2 and h7 pawn doesn't matter. But the central pawns, the f2, d4 pawn and d5 pawn and f4 and d5 is so important that you have these pawns in the opposite color of your bishop. So for that reason here white have the advantage. Okay, maybe for a beginner can look like this position is equal, or maybe could be like they could think that black is better because they have the open fight with the queen and with the rook. But no, for a master it's so clear that in this position white is better. Okay, bishop d7, rook ac1, good move, taking the file. Bishop e2, and now very good maneuver on by Caruana because okay, the bishop on d3 is I have no making nothing. The only thing that he makes is cover the a4 square, but it's too low for a bishop. And the bishop needs to make something. Here, the both diagonals are completely close. So Fabi plays the bishop in a yes in an active position, attacking the d5 pawn. At the same time that he's going to defend the a4 square. Rook c8 and bishop f3, very good move. Queen d6. And here the machine prefers just play h4, which is a useful move, of course. Just placing more pawns in black squares and taking space. Or king f2, improving a little bit the king. But Caruana, okay, makes a normal plan who placing the rook on e1, taking the control of the e5. Before, okay, finally Nakamura plays a pawn in a different color of his bishop. Finally, at least we have one pawn in a different color, but like I told, the most important pawns are the center. But okay, it's fine that he at least have one pawn in a black square. Ace4, like I told, very good move of Fabi. Now fixing all the all the black inside in like the square. Can look like it's going to be difficult to attack this pawn. Okay, it's true that for the moment it's difficult to attack these pawns. And in this move, you cannot attack these pawns. But but some moves later, we're going to see that have this pawn in this squares is going to be so important when the position open, because always the position is going to be open. Now we're going to see that have this pawn there is going to matter so much. Okay, rook c1, trading rooks, a5, takes here. Okay, the machine prefer this plan of queen e2, queen b5, queen c1. Here, yes, was better to place the bishop on e6, because after bishop a6, the position is just lost for Nakamura. After very good move of Fabi, queen c5, trading queens, and we saw that Fabiano managed to trade all the pieces and only keep his good bishop against his bad bishop. That's easy strategy. Here, let's see, very important moment. More or less here, we saw that this is the bad bishop and this is a good bishop. And especially after f5. After f5 was also clear that this is a good bishop and this is a bad bishop. So it was incredible how Fabi just trade all the pieces and Nakamura cannot make nothing to avoid that. And he just keep his good bishop and his bad bishop. But okay, now he still should win the game. But okay, we're going to see that it's not, the rest is more or less easy too, especially because of these pawns. We're going to see that they are going to make a fundamental, yeah, it's going to be fundamental for the white win, these fucking pawns. D4. Okay, now Nakamura have 3 pawns in, sorry, yeah, 3 pawns in dark square is not bad, but these pawns are going to be, spawns are going to be crucial for like king f2, bishop d5, a3, good move, takes, c6, just advancing this pawn. Okay, now white idea, the king cannot go to anywhere. The king is completely blocked here. So now what is going to do is just give the c pawn to take 2 of these pawns. Just trade the c5 pawn for the g6 and h5 pawn. It's just what Fabiano do. Cool. Like I told, one day these pawns are going to be weak and you can attack these pawns. So this was happened. Fabiano take these 2 pawns, king e6, and now endgame with same square, same color bishops with an extra pawn is always win. Not always, but the majority of the times. Endgame with an extra pawn with piece of the same squares used to be win, especially when you have a pass pawn on h4, of course. Bishop f3, king e1, he plays well the king on d2, g3, just defending everything. Now he finally plays bishop d3, and okay, he decided to push the h pawn now to trade the h pawn for the f pawn and have 2 pass pawns on g3 and f4. But apart here, he has the tactic g4 and just take here and black resign. I really like this Fabi game because this was very instructive, because he just make a clear plan of trade all the trade all the pieces and just keep black with the bad bishop. He made that, yes, a clear plan. There are no huge calculation or huge difficult move. He just make an easy plan. Here he saw that he had a better bishop than his opponent, and he just decided to trade first the minor pieces, who is the most important pieces to trade. But later he just trade the huge pieces and capture the black pawns. So very good victory of Fabiano to start the tournament. And so let's see how the tournament continue. Bye bye, motherfuckers.